Okay. Great experiment. Here we go. All right.
Well, welcome, to our post game show, the Wake and Red Weekly post game show. This is the first time that we're launching this, so we will be working through some kinks here, but bear with us. And yeah, not really the note that we wanted to start off on. Hey, gentlemen, first of all, let me introduce my my co-hosts today. We got Jeffrey P. Nesker on my left here on the screen, and of course below me we got Mike Newell, who is filling in today for Mitchell Tierney, who's usually here. But we thank Mike for joining us, and we're interested to hear some of his thoughts today. Gentlemen, shall we dive right into things and talk about what was that last 90 minutes or 2 hours, I guess, that we had to sit through? Jeff, I'll start with you. What did you think?
I'm spinning, man. I did the game thread on WTR, then I had to screen cap 6 different goals without sound, which you'll find out later. So yeah, I mean, it was a game, but it was pretty craptastic. Also, I haven't had a beer yet, so if you'll permit me 1 second.
You got to chug it, man.
I'll join you. I'll join you, actually.
No, I'm not chugging a Rodenbach.
Yeah, I'll join you guys. That's my
I'm joining you.
Straight
it's that kind of game, you know.
Spill one out for the young guns, because I imagine we're gonna have to answer for ourselves quite a bit over the next pause in TFC games. I don't know, Mike. Obviously you're still sort of half and half in the post game presser, and any interesting tidbits to sort of open the floodgates there?
I guess the first thing that I'll mention is Armis took full responsibility for this. He said not only was he not good enough, he said the team wasn't good enough. So, they're going to build off this. I like the fact that he wasn't willing to take any excuses. He was asked a question about the heat, the weather, whether or not that played a factor, and he straight up just dismissed that. He just said that we were second to everything today, and they just were not good enough. Is that something that you saw down there, Mike?
Yeah. I mean, look, this was the same 11 that went out on Wednesday and poured everything into a massive result. So
say it again for the people in the back.
This was the same 11 that just poured everything out on Wednesday. But the other thing is look, Luke Singh had a nightmare game today in a lot of ways. And, I think what happened is he came back down to earth, and that could only be expected of a player that essentially is playing his first senior game with TFC. It's not his first senior game ever. He had senior games at Brøndby on loan, but it looked like a team that played Wednesday night and gave everything, and then had to turn around in a lot of heat. I know they're not going to make excuses, nor should they, but
we're making excuses.
Well, we are. I mean, let's be real here. There are real things, factors that this team had to go through. That said, I don't know if we learned anything super new about the team. I think that the problems that we thought they were going to have going into this season, high lines, slower center backs, maybe getting beat over the top, is what we saw today, especially on the Romel Kyoto goal, right? So from that perspective, I think they were definitely second best to everything. Am I that surprised? I'm surprised at the scoreline. I didn't think they were going to give up ship 4, but am I surprised that they looked like tired legs? Not necessarily.
Yeah, fair points. Let's dive into it, Jeff. Do you have that lineup graphic? Let's bring that up. Let's talk.
Oh man, alive! I absolutely don't. Why don't you talk about something else, and I'll just put it up really quickly.
Yeah, no worries. You want to start with the first goal then?
Yeah. You mean I got to do stuff while I'm trying to do stuff? Sure, let's do that. All right. Here's the first goal without sound, because that's the way I roll.
Of course, this was early on in the match. Very early on in the match, and then I mean the finish is right there in front of us. But the biggest mistake, obviously, was Aro Jr. He wasn't able to make his mind up quickly enough. Obviously, he slips and was never able to recover. And then you have a 3-on-2, which, it's the fullback, Broguillard, driving at the Toronto FC defense with Luke Singh and really an experienced sort of defender and Omar Gonzalez. They backed off too much. They gave Broguillard way too much time, and they made a decision way too late. And when you go to step and make that decision too late, you leave the one option open. Of course, I think it's a stronger right foot because it definitely looked that way. And it set him up perfectly for that finish that, he definitely could not have placed any better. And Alex Bono had no chance there. So two kind of faults there for me on that play. That's first of all, Oro Jr., of course, with that slip up. And the second one was Omar Gonzalez kind of being indecisive, not sure when to step to Broguillard. Me personally, I would have actually taken the striker, knowing that it's a fullback running at you. And it looked like, I forget who was tracking back, it might have been Oro. It looked like he could have kind of got there for to put a little bit of pressure on Broguillard. I'd rather Broguillard beat us than Mason Toye, but obviously that didn't happen.
You want to see the lineup now?
Before we do that, Mike, did you have something to say there?
Yeah, I think, I agree with that. I think that in a lot of ways, you would hope that your most experienced center back on the pitch would be able to realize the danger that's over his shoulder in terms of Mason Toye, right? This is the reason Montreal went and made the acquisition for him last year. And you would think that in that moment, Omar would kind of be decisive. That's kind of, that's what you pay him for. And that's what you want him to be in that moment. When you see the play developing, as soon as he kind of makes that kind of hesitancy half step, I think I'm going to take him. I don't. You just saw the space open up.
Yep.
And at that point, it opened it up, not just a space for a Toye to run into, but the space for him the channel for him to make that shot. And he curled it perfectly. And at that point, as you said, not much Bono can do to stop that one.
Yeah, let's go back and we'll backtrack a little bit and
lineup time.
Let's discuss the starting 11 because Mike, you made an interesting point there. It's the same 11 from Wednesday, from 3-4 days ago, and to me that was sort of a little bit alarming. I'm like, we're not trying to win the supporter shield this game, right? Like this isn't make or break for Toronto FC right now. So why are we fielding what could possibly be what your youth believe is your strongest 11 that's possible right now against this Montreal team? It just, for me, I think that was a little puzzling.
I have so many thoughts. The first is, do you think that because Leon had no tape on us, it was sort of a false positive, and now that there's game tape on us, I mean, they got so much joy on the wings, man, and there was almost no adjustment. I mean, to Armis's credit, he certainly tried to mix things up, but it was like Montreal found our kryptonite and just kept punishing us.
It's a good point. It's a good point.
What was my other thought? My other thought was this. The biggest knock on Armis when we hired him was that game where the Red Bulls crashed out of the playoffs, because I think it was versus Atlanta. And, he had been destroying Atlanta during the season series with that high press. And then he pulled a Vanny and he absolutely, I think he did like a 4-4-2 diamond.
Yep.
And Atlanta ran rough all over them. And there were no in-game adjustments. That was just what it is. So is this a trend with Armis? Vanny maybe is the opposite, wherein he overthinks himself, out of a win or out of a lead. But is there a certain stubbornness to Armis that we just saw today that maybe is a bit of something that belongs on the negative column?
That's a bit too early.
Super small sample size.
Yeah,
I think small sample size.
You're just speculate.
Well, again, I think
I'm going to sit on it.
Maybe down the road. Like if you're if we're having this exact same show in June, then maybe we start to ring the alarm bells a little bit. With the way that he played, look, they were aggressive to start the game. They pressed as we kind of saw them do against Leon. The difference here was that, obviously, as you said, Montreal was ready for it, and they broke it. And that's the risk of playing this kind of super pressing style where you're pushing your center backs up and you're asking them to be aggressive and step to midfielders and step to forwards when they have the ball, is that, if you have Luke Singh stepping high and it's really just Omar, and you hope maybe one of your wing backs or one of your left or your right back in position to be able to step in should you get beat. But if you beat that, you've got acres of space behind to run into. And that's what happened really on the first 2 goals. And funny enough, again, on the Mihailovic goal, kind of the same thing, where you step really high, or you're compressing space into the attacking half. But if you get beat over the top, or if you are sloppy and give the ball away, then you give yourself an opportunity to get beat. And that's kind of what happened here.
Mike, we have the technology. Would you like me to play the silent Mihailovic goal?
Please.
Which one was that? Because I didn't actually. Didn't
play the second goal before you play that one.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Let's do that. Cool.
And while you're doing that, okay. Yeah. Here we go. Right there, you go. See that's your space. You've pushed Omar and Luke so high that if you give the ball away, which ended up happening, you gave the ball away, and all they had to do is turn around and hit it long. And it's not a complicated sort of way to break a press, but you have to be ultra careful and ultra precise in the way that you possess the ball when you're playing that way.
Yeah, I think that was a very bad bounce that led to that ball over the top. And to me, honestly, Luke Singh showed us a little bit of immaturity there, where I think a more experienced center back would put his body a little bit more on Kyoto there. He would make it a little bit more difficult for Kyoto, whether that is throwing him off balance a little bit, whether that is, giving him a little bit of a nudge with your shoulder, something to make it a little bit more difficult. And Luke Singh obviously doesn't do that. I don't fault him for it, because he's very timid there. He's kind of scared that he's going to give away a penalty. Again, that's experience that'll come with these kind of growing pains, but it's disappointing that he was sort of left out to dry there by himself. And that's going to happen because of what we talked about originally in the lineup. There is not enough width in that lineup. So that's why you see the fullbacks, Richie Larea and Aro, pushing up the field higher pretty often. And when they're that high up on the field, it leaves just the back 2 center backs to defend. And Luke Singh showed great pace there. Kyoto's super, super fast, and Luke Singh was pretty close to keeping stride for stride with him. But he definitely didn't have it in his tank to keep up. And what a finish too! Let's not take anything away from that. What a finish.
Well, I think with Luke, I think he did get done a little bit by an experienced forward, where you can kind of see Kyoto kind of stuttered him on the run. So he kind of slowed himself down and then sped up, and that kind of put Luke. Luke was kind of chasing after that.
He put him on skates. Absolutely.
So that was absolutely.
But that cursor in the middle of the pitch. Shocking defending by that cursor that I captured in my screen cap, by the way. Just shocking. I don't think they should ever start him again.
Hi,
we have
guys.
a guest.
Hey.
Wow.
It's me. Pat Mullins is here.
Nice.
Patrick Mullins is here. I had a crappy game, but you know what?
We still love you, Patrick Mullins.
I'm just here for some fast money, guys.
All right. Hey.
My first question is Bradley really the best guy on the pitch to be taking the free kicks?
On the pitch then for Toronto FC?
Today.
What? Let me ask you that. I'll throw it back at what's the other option? There's Patrick Mullins.
Well, you were on the pitch at that point. So.
I'll leave that. Mullins should have taken the free kick. Yeah.
I'll leave that open to you, gentlemen, too. We had this discussion in our Wake in the Red chat. Obviously, it's kind of eye-opening seeing Michael Bradley take the free kick. But who else would you have?
Wait a
Hear me
second.
out.
That's
Sebastian Giovinco.
Well, in a magic hot tub time machine, sure.
So the answer is the answer is yes. He is the best option on the pitch. That's what
did Caldwell say? He said he expected someone to take it on their weaker left foot, and then Bradley took it on his stronger right foot. Did I mishear that? Or
okay. No, but I mean, I think. Yeah, naturally he is. When you don't have a Pozuelo, and honestly, I actually think the best free kick taker on the team is Josie Altidore. But if you don't have those two on the pitch, which you didn't today, it is Michael Bradley. I mean, maybe you can make a shout for somebody like maybe a Nick DeLeon if he's on, because he does have this ability to curl the ball really well. But outside of that, you don't really have a lot of players right now that you would say could step up and take a big free kick in that moment outside of Alejandro Pozuelo or Josie Altidore.
Yeah, I wouldn't even say Michael Bradley could really take that free kick in a big moment. Like, that's just a fill-in option for me because there's no better option there on the pitch. So to answer your question, I think he was the best option on the pitch, and I think that's very unfortunate, to be honest with you.
Yeah. Well, next question. I think that the criticism, I think you guys addressed this too, on Singh is a bit unfair. I mean, at least on the fourth goal. I don't know if you have it up there, Jeff.
I do.
Gonzalez.
Keep talking. I'll bring it up. It'll be amazing.
Looked a bit lost on that one. He was totally frozen on a deke that I don't even think was made by the Montreal player.
That fourth goal, that was the header.
This is the third goal.
Yeah, that was the third goal. Yeah.
Yeah.
What?
Which if we can bring that up.
No. Let's not show how the sausage is made. Right, so which one was that? Montreal's
the fourth. I think it's the Mihailovic goal.
Okay, so then
Speaking of Mihailovic, if I can get his name pronounced correctly, Montreal might have found themselves a real number 10 there. They gave up a lot of money for Mihailovic. Again, I'm going to struggle to say his name, but
yeah. So watch Gonzo here. Watch this. Whoa!
Yeah, great finish.
Like Singh he was playing it okay.
I don't know about that, Kev. I don't know about that. I think he got caught in kind of no man's
Just watch Omar here. Just watch Omar.
Okay, hold on. I don't know how to do this. But
look at Omar and only
there you
Omar.
Go.
Right? Watch this one.
So Omar's dealing with two runners there.
Yeah. So that's the thing, right?
Omar. I see one.
Yeah,
he's dealing with the guy at the far post as well.
Yeah, he's thinking about the guy at the far post. He doesn't know who's behind him. Specifically, and I think that Luke, in the way that he's defending it is okay. He's trying to keep the defender on him, but I mean, he also got frozen as well, and kind of let him skate by. And at that point, Omar's kind of stuck in. Well, if I step to Mihailovic, I'm leaving whoever is behind me wide open. He just taps it over to him, and it's a tap in for that person as well. So, look, no one covered themselves in glory, I think, today, other than maybe Richie Larea. It's one of those things where I think you have a center back who's going through some a bit of a learning curve, who came back down to earth, and a team that once they kind of got a lead, realized, hey, we've got a way to beat these guys today.
Yeah.
Okay, last question.
Before you do that, let's just call a spade a spade. For me, that was pretty horrendous defending by Luke Singh. I'm one of his biggest advocates, but he got caught in no man's land. Like, I guess he was guessing that the pass would be back, but the guy wasn't even there at the end of the play. There was no guy on his left shoulder by the end of it. He just read that play completely wrong. And again, that just goes back to his maturity. And these are growing pains. They're going to happen. Let's just call a spade a spade.
Yeah.
Okay. Last question. Is Thierry Henry a terrible coach? Because there was lots of talk on the broadcast about the identity that the club had, that Montreal had, the shape. Piet is back into his comfortable position on the field. What do you guys think?
I'm going to wait until next week. I think that's an outlier because they always show up for cold firm derbies. Let's see how they do it in Orlando on a rainy and humid Sunday night first.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think Thierry Henry is a great coach. I don't think he's. Really
To answer your question, I don't think he's a great coach either.
Yeah, I don't think he's really proven anything at really any job that he's had. I don't think he didn't do well when he was at Monaco before coming over to Montreal. And Montreal, he had a lot of people were scratching their heads at some of the lineups that he'd throw out there. This lineup is clear that, as Kevin said, like this team has a clear identity. Granted, there are a lot of new players, but the manager has some sort of impact on that. No pun intended. They have some sort of say in how this team shapes up. And with Wanyama, Sam Piet there in the middle, you had the pace of Kyoto and Mason Toye up top. This team looked far more dangerous than they had in years past, and it looks like they're going to be a team that clearly plays off transition. And again, there's that structure when they shifted at 5 going forward. That's something TFC couldn't handle, and they look structured. That being said, they had a ton of time to prepare for this match, and as Jeff said, we'll give it some time before we give Wilfred Nancy
before I bronze him in
exactly.
That said, I mean, congratulations to Wilf Nancy. I mean, look, I'll always say it. Black head coaches doing well is a good thing in Major League Soccer. That said, I agree with the guys. I'm going to wait and see in terms of this Montreal team and see what they really are. I think they were up for this game. It's really the games after that where we're going to start to see whether or not they can keep. That said, he clearly got a song out of Wanyama today, which Thierry Henry was not able to do at any point last season. So that's already a win from a Montreal perspective.
All right, thanks, guys. I think he's terrible, but.
Sorry.
That would kill Jeff. Thank you, Kevin, for joining us. That's our producer, Kevin, by the way. That's the one.
No, that's Patrick Mullins. What are you talking about?
Wake in the Red Weekly. Yeah, that's
Team
Patrick
money.
Mullins, actually. So, moving on here, I wanted to try something a little bit new. This is something we don't really do on our Wake in the Red Weekly, but I'm going to take inspiration from another podcast that I've been on, Reg Couch Banks. Shout out Vivek. And I wanted to hand out some awards for today's match. So let's give out first of all the Man of the Match award. We'll come up with more clever names for these moving forward, but let's give out the Man of the Match award. Now, it doesn't have to be just from TFC. It doesn't have to, it could be from Montreal. It could be from TFC if you saw someone that really stood out. But for you guys, what was your Man of the Match? Mike, we'll start with you because I think you have an answer ready.
Yeah, from a TFC perspective, it's Richie Larea. To me, I think he stood out. He showed why there is interest from Besiktas. Why also I don't know if he's going to be with this team come playoff time. In terms of that those dollar bills might be going up based on that performance. From an overall game perspective, I'm probably giving it to Georgi Mihailovic. I think he looked really good in those spaces, and partly we made him look good, but I think that he's got a bit to prove. I mean, if you watched the Chicago Fire over the last couple of years, this is a guy that came into that system highly touted throughout the league, and really hasn't shown sort of the promise that everybody glimpses here and there, but it hasn't really shown that promise. And today you kind of saw what Montreal think they can get out of him. Now, again, one game sample, but if he can continue that, then that's a big thing for Montreal. So those are my men of the matches. Sorry, I know I'm taking that in a bit of a different direction than you probably were thinking, but that's
all right. Those are some great shouts.
Yeah, no.
As I mentioned,
sorry.
As I mentioned, like Montreal paid a lot for that player. So they're expecting a lot. There was a lot of allocation money that Montreal gave up to bring him in. And it looks like it could be a steal if he continues playing like this. So great shout there. Jeff, who did you have in mind?
For Montreal, his name is Victor, last name Wanyama. Absolute beast today. That's the guy that I used to watch in the Prem, not the Chasing Shadows guy that was carrying Henri's suitcase for him last season. So for TFC, it's got to be Richie. I mean, he's a game breaker, man. This kid's a baller, plain and simple. And I like. It's interesting. It never really phases him. I mean, he looks mad all the time, so it's not easy to read his facial expression. But the dude's kind of zen. You know what I mean? Like,
you can tell he believes in his ability.
Yeah. I think that's a better way to say it than vagaries. But yeah, you can tell that he knows he's got another gear to turn on. And I think his intelligence is just getting more and more. Like, when you're playing out in that humidity and that heat, and he started, and to have something left in the tank when nobody else does, and you're an outside back. I mean, that's some smart self man management, which sounds awful. I got to come up with a better term than that. but he impressed me today.
Last year, it was Pablo Piatti who was the one who covered the most ground for Toronto FC, most distance covered. And I will be absolutely baffled if it isn't Richie Laryea this season, because as I mentioned, Laryea plays really wide, so he gets up the pitch like so much for Toronto FC because he is that width. He's playing on the same side as Mark Delgado. I got to work on that, make sure I get that right.
Never gonna stick.
Delgado.
Never gonna stick.
And Mark Delgado is the one kind of cutting inside so Richie Laryea can go up that line. And a lot of the times when, the ball gets turned over or whatever, it's Laryea who's the one who's tracking back to help out the two center backs who are kind of left stranded there. And Laryea is the one with pace who can do that. Michael Bradley got kind of exposed a little bit there in the midfield when those gaps between your defense and midfield are a bit too big. Michael Bradley sort of got exposed when he's running back because it looks like he's jogging back. The pace that he's going, and obviously he's being asked to do a lot of work as well, but it's something to watch for moving forward is how does TFC, I guess, counter that counterattack? How do they recover? And for me, most of the time it's Richie Laryea saving the day, and I'm going to be kind of concerned when Laryea isn't in this lineup and that happens.
Well, that was the thing. Like I the one thing I really loved near the end of this game, through gritted teeth, obviously watching the scoreline, was his combination with Jaquil Marshall-Rutty once he came in. The way that the two were able to sort of connect at times down the flank, and obviously on Richie's goal, you can see those flashes of a player who's really in a high form in terms of the way he's playing right now. Even the cut back to Michael Bradley, which Michael couldn't get his feet sorted out. You just don't know what he's going to do. He could either shoot across the face of goal or cut back. And I think he puts defenders on skates. And now he's got that little sort of turn on defenders who try to get tight on him now. So they're trying to play him tight, and he can now turn him almost every single time. He did it against Leon, and he did it today again on the goal. So definitely you're seeing a player that's going to cover a lot of ground and also make things happen as a game breaker throughout the season. Absolutely.
Well said.
Yeah. And I love how you brought up Jaquil Marshall-Rutty there. Obviously, he came into the match today. It wasn't really the most fortunate of circumstances. The team was trailing 4-1 in his MLS debut. He came on during that 5-0 drubbing against Philadelphia. So the two times he's seen the pitch so far, it's been in very unfortunate circumstances, but he's made the most of it both times. Jaquil, for me today, he showed why people are so high on him. His movement is outstanding. He's reading the game so well, and you can tell he doesn't try to do too much. If you put Jaquil on a high quality team where he can just play his role, it's not really what MLS is. But if you think about the European teams that are watching him and you put him on one of those teams, I think he can flourish because he can just focus on his position. He's so good at that. He's so good at reading the game. Obviously, there's a lot of growing that he has to do, but I'm thoroughly impressed of what I've seen. He doesn't try and do too much, and for me, that's the most impressive trait for someone who's 16 years old. And he did register his first career MLS assist today, so I want to give a quick shout out to Jaquil.
Hey.
Yeah, so I think we don't want to go too much longer here on this first post-game show. Before we do wrap up, we did have some really big news at Wake in the Red this week, and I'm happy that, Mike, you're here to join us here. We announced a really important partnership, and that's with the Toronto FC BIPOC Fan Coalition. For us, on our end, what we can do to help out in any way that's what we were trying to do. And we have a platform. We have a platform where we can amplify voices of minority people. To be completely, transparent, is now we can use this partnership, and members of the TFC BIPOC Fan Coalition, you'll now be able to find their work on Waking the Red. And that's something that I am incredibly proud of to say. That's something my team is incredibly proud to say. And I'm really excited for this partnership moving forward, because there's more voices in the community, more voices of minorities that can be amplified is the goal. Because obviously we're still fighting a battle here, a battle that's still ongoing. And we're just super proud of this partnership and what we have planned moving forward.
Yeah. So let me. Oh, okay.
That's what Mike said.
No, Jeff, go.
No, I was completely going to change the subject. I was going to just end it there. So if you have anything to add, by all means, you go first.
No, man. I mean, look, I think the release that you guys put out yesterday really spoke to it. It's the idea of amplifying racialized voices in the TFC community, and having that opportunity to really talk about what's going on with this team. It's really exciting. I thank you guys for being proactive and reaching out to us and sharing your platform. We really do appreciate it. And I think, one of the things that we've talked about in terms of a future podcast, I'm going to do a little plug for the House on Lakeshore podcast, which you can find on the Waking the Red site. We're talking about TFC's future and how that future is black, and a lot of these young players we're talking about, your Jaquil Marshall-Ruddys, your Jaden Nelsons, your Ralph Prizos, Julian Dunns, you're talking about, black players coming from, Brampton and in the Toronto, in the GTA area, that are really going to shape the future of this club. In a lot of ways. So, a lot of talk about that. I won't spoil it all today, but really excited to work with you guys and to a bright future.
Hey,
absolutely.
Yeah, cheers to that.
Yeah, cheers to that. So we've got an article on the site that is sort of a link to this post-game show, and I'm going to open up the floor to comments on the thread. It's going to be like a variety show. Naturally, I'll probably be too drunk to do this after some games at BMO. So there's going to be like rotating hosts and special guests like Mike, although, he's now part of the family. So, tell us what you'd like to see. This was a lot of fun. I enjoyed this tactical analysis, what I heard of it while I was on the decks. Do you want sound in our clips, or do you prefer to not have sound? Because I got to say something. I liked not having a cacophony of noise while we were discussing the plays when they do these playbacks on those shows. So I think that was a happy little accident. Would you like me to hide Waldo in some of the clips? Maybe we can have a game on the side. Just tell us what you'd like to see. This show more than anything else is a variety show. It's all improv, so let us know how you think we did and what you'd like to see in the future, because there's a lot more games to go, and hopefully they all won't be 4-2 to the clubbed foot people, to the Snowflake.
Yeah, well said, Jeff. And let's end a little bit more of a positive note. This, of course, was the first MLS match for Chris Armas. He is the first one under his belt, and perhaps that'll take the pressure off a little bit. You get that first big loss out of the way, maybe the pressure's off a little bit, and you can just focus in on getting things right and steering the ship right. Because in every MLS season, you have your ups and you have your downs. It's about not getting too high, not getting too low. Jeff, I know you want to chime in. Yeah.
Just that there was a tweet that I really, really liked.
Yeah, please.
It was, as a consequence of this, we're going to win the Champions League. So I'll take it. And this is all the wood that I'm knocking on right now.
Yeah, exactly. I wonder, and maybe this is a question to ask in the presser during the week, but I wonder if Chris Armas kind of looked at this because it was the first game and because it was a derby, that he put a lot into this or was trying to put a lot into this to win it. Because obviously as a manager, you're coming into a new club, and Leon was one thing, but obviously a derby is another, because you're under scrutiny. I just wonder if he might have been thinking a lot about that, and now that that's out of the way, he can kind of be like, okay, now let's really get to business.
Let's get to business.
Yeah, hopefully it's just uphill from here. So
this is not the first time. Yeah, this is not the first time that Montreal's had our number for totally illogical reasons. Like, they just come out sometimes, and it is what it is.
Yeah, we were 3-1 against them last season. Hopefully, again, this is the only one that we have to talk about this season. On that note, thank you, Mike, for joining us. We really do appreciate it today. Jeff, thank you for all the work that you put in. Thank you to, I guess, our producer, Kevin, there for showing up with Patrick Mullins, actually. Let me correct myself.
Who's Kevin, man? Do you have any idea how many messages I had to leave on Patrick Mullins? You know how much I slid into his DMs just to get that little. So, give me some respect, guys. I spent a lot of credibility for that little bit there. Anyway.
All you, Jeff. All you. Yeah, anyways. TFC fans, thank you again for joining us. We thank you for all your comments in our comment thread. We see these all coming in. A busy one today, and we're hoping to do more of this moving forward, and hopefully we just get better and better from here. But on that note, we'll see you guys next week against Vancouver.
Thanks, guys.
Ciao.